It's Monday night, it's RaceSpotTV. Welcome to Monday Night Skippys. Rich White with Linus Brostrom as always, bringing you the action here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And well, qualifying is complete. We're getting ready to start our race here tonight. We'll run you through those positions right now. I'll get those out for you now. Qualifying on pole with a 112.135. Great lap from Clay Hughes there in the 42 with Adam Miles, the newcomer, in second place, with Paul Grillo, Anthony Katz, and Ewan Patterson rounding your top five. Behind them it's Tom Ward, Sarah Savage, Mick Watson returning, Clark Williams, and Mark Mercer in 10th. Behind them it's Daniel Tufts, Mac Ox, Lee Anderson, Simon Maltby, Dave Kirkman, James Child, Neil Middleton, Chris Morris, Peter Cowan, and Michael Taylor. Rest of the positions on your screen. Linus, is the Roval outside the Roval?
It is. It's a very special kind of track. It's a flat oval, but we basically don't use the oval at all, and then we go outside it, which you usually don't. And been here quite a few times in this series, and I can't remember a single race we've been here where it's not been action-packed. So we're in for an outstanding race today again, I think.
Absolutely are. Cars on the grid now. We only got 30 today, so it's a small grid here for New Hampshire, but I guess a lot of them are getting PTSD from remembering those lap 1 crashes we tend to have here in this series. But regardless, we're going to have a good one here tonight. Weather conditions for the race are reasonable at the moment. We're looking at 92 track temperature with a air temperature of 80. It's pretty cloudy. Winds are about 10 miles an hour from the west. Humidity is 50%. So looking like average-ish conditions here, Linus, as the engines will rev up and we get ready to start here. Clay Hughes on the pole. Green flag flies and we're away. Of course, through NASCAR 1 and 2 initially on the lap, and we don't go through that on the other end of the circuit, but down the back straight here, we take that right-hand turn outside of the Roval as everyone diving down. We're not, in fact, taking the Roval. Okay, this is news to me. We're taking this S-curve early here, which might actually reduce speed into the hairpin down here. But Tom Ward about to be passed by Patterson, I think, who got past him initially. Ward left the inside, though. This is our big crash zone. What is normally turn 3, as it's now actually turn 5. I'm struggling to count those corners from that new start to the lap. Something I wasn't particularly expecting to see, but perhaps that's new for us at the moment, as it's going to be Hughes still leading the way from Miles. Miles, a newcomer, Linus, relatively. We've not seen him really in the series. Definitely great performance so far in qualifying. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, he's had a good practice and a good qualifying, and he's definitely not new to the car or the road racing aspect, but he's new to the series, so it's good to see him up there battling with the likes of Edwards, Hughes, and Cat. Edwards not being here today, though, the championship leader, so Lee Hughes has got a great chance to take over that championship lead, as he's coming to lead here at the end of lap number 1, and not a single car went off, as far as I can see, so that's a first, I think.
Certainly is, starting lap 2 here, and it's a very quick lap, just over about a minute and a quarter, as we're going to have contact here around 15 cars. Savage, and we do have contact right in front of your field. We'll take a quick look back at what happened there, as Savage comes to blows with the 666 of Watson. I guess he couldn't deduce what was going to happen there, as the two got very close in those first 2 corners, and Savage spins in front of the field. Everyone managed to avoid contact, and no real damage we can see. But that's definitely changed our positions there. Mick Watson has been a driver in this series for years, and it's good to see him and other veterans returning. And I get to bring the old terrible puns back, of course, which is always a good thing. Hughes still clear out front with Miles there in second place ahead of Paul Grillo, one of those other veterans we talked about. Anthony Cat back in 4th. Tom Ward looking to claw his way forwards in 5th place. Ward's had a couple of fractious rounds recently, Linus, and I don't know about you, but I'm actually quite sad we're not using any components really of the oval here at New Hampshire like we used to. But Ward has to hope for a good result now.
Yeah, he's been struggling this season, especially through the last few races, like you said, and he's been doing pretty well today, sitting 5th at the moment, so he's definitely got a chance still if he can hold on. Bit of a new configuration, so it's a bit new for everybody, but they're all doing well. The top 5 opening up a gap here, actually quite a big gap. They've got, well, almost 3 seconds down to Watson in 7th place, and they're going at it back here as well, but they're going to single file out now, coming into the tightest turn on the track. Oh, and they're actually going to go 3 wide through the barriers. Look at that. That's double pass. Oh, and contact. That's Tufts and Williams going off Tuff's backing off the track and Williams in the barrier as well. That was never going to go well.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look at that.
Wow.
3 wide though, out of the hairpin, and contact there as I think Tuff's drifts wide, catches Williams, and that spins them out near contact there as well for Cox and Anderson in that run. They make it through though without any real trouble, as Clay Hughes still going to be ahead of this pack. Miles catching up here, as is Grillo. Top 6, Linus, really close together, all the way down to Patterson there, and they've majorly broken away. They've got 3 seconds on Mick Watson behind them. Of course, he had a little bit of contact with Savage, which cost him some time, but he's running in fairly clear air. Maybe a second or so ahead there of Mercer, who actually I believe has lost time. Yep, Cox and Anderson got past Mercer there. He's dropping down this order, but really separated out in this mid-pack area.
Yeah, that little incident really spread it out. So Watson is finding himself all by himself now in 7th. Maybe that's what he needs to catch up to these guys in front again, but they're not racing very hard, so they're not losing any time, and they actually pulled away another few tenths on that lap, so it's well over 3 seconds now between Patterson in 6th and Watson in 7th. But still a good chance for everybody up here. It's no position changes though from the first lap where Ward passed Patterson. Other than that, they've just stayed in line so far, so nothing much going on at the front of the field.
We'll have a quick look at one of our race spot drivers here. Paul Smith started 28th, not quite last, but pretty far down there. And one of the non-qualifiers, he is currently up in 20th from 28th place, working his way here around the outside of the 118 of Craig Crawford. And in fact, he should look like he'll get this position unless he takes it now before we return to the oval. Paul Smith up to 19th place now. I think that might have been Crawford or Kajuko. No, it was definitely Crawford he got past there, so making that position count for himself. Lee Anderson separated here from Matt Cox. Cox dropping back a little bit here time-wise. Not quite able to carry it. This is definitely providing a difficult run for these guys, this infield segment here.
Oh, we got a crash right behind. Actually, no, we don't. He saved it, but that was Middleton and Kirkman, I think, that made contact coming in through the little S there. But he managed to keep going. That was really close to Maltby was the one he made contact with, but he managed to save it, so gonna keep on going.
It certainly is. In fact, having a quick look at Middleton here, actually, along with the 16 car of Maltby.
It was actually Mercer he made contact with. Sorry.
Absolutely. Well, I think that first segment was really confusing. Some of these drivers with no real pronounced racing lines there, or driving perimeter. It's almost as though they're trying to find the best line through that section. And it's something new to these guys, of course. Not really run this layout in this series before, so one that is catching them out a tad and providing a much more tricky racing situation for them.
We got side by side for the lead now between Miles and Grillo. Grillo going for 2nd place. Actually gonna have it back into 2nd, and he's gonna get it. Oh, and they're gonna be 3 wide again into the S's. Look at that. That's Cat, and he's gonna go sideways. Oh, I don't think anybody hit anything there, but there was Cat certainly spun out.
Cat runs wide coming into the corner, and he makes slight contact there with the 4 machine of Miles, and it just tips him round, and then a little nudge from Tom Ward, but nothing too severe, as he will drop that position here. Clay Hughes definitely still out front here by a good way. Grillo in 2nd place with him, but now there's a decent gap back to Cat and Ward here, which should separate us out for the moment.
Yeah, this is not what we're used to seeing, the field spreading out this much this early, but it's certainly going to bring on a different race for us now. Hughes getting a bit of a lead now from Grillo though, so this could be exactly what he needs. There's not much draft to speak of it on this configuration of the track either, so if Hughes can just put his head down now, he might have this race won already, as we're only coming to the end of lap 6 out of 22, so still a long way to go. But if he can get that gap up to just over a second, which I think he might be able to do now, there won't be much to stop him.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Long race here, but a short lap. And it's something that Hughes really could do with benefiting from here. It will help his championship opportunities if he can get a good result here, especially without the presence of the dominant Simon Edwards in this series. A guy who's really thrown this one for 6 and shaken up our running order, really, in terms of how he's absolutely dominant. Even when he's not winning, he's consistent. Hughes needs those couple of races without him, which might benefit his race event as it stands. But that top 6, which was so tight now, into 2 pairs realistically, Hughes and Grillo, Ward and Patterson. Actually, it's not, is it? It's actually Adam Miles is up there. I thought it was actually Cat, but it's not. Cat was the car that spun out. He's running a little bit further back now, I believe. Running in 7th place here, trying to work his way past Mick Watson. These two have duelled in the past in previous seasons gone by. And we've got a lot more cars now racing for position here. But and Lee Anderson, he's running down in 8th place. Really not involved with anybody else. Same goes really for Matt Cox here. Kirkman behind him, working his way forwards. Our update on Paul Smith, still 20th place. Ball's not managed to find his way past anybody here. In fact, cars behind him, big gaps ahead of him, nothing really to work with here. Mod Kajoko is running a little bit further forwards. He's 19th place. Coming after Daniel Tufts just ahead of him there. As Chris Morris as well here, side by side there with another driver. Middleton, new tail of the cars ahead of him, with Taylor, Savage and Cowan. I think I really missed the draft trip we got from the NASCAR Turn 1 and 2 here, Linus, on the front of that one. It really sped things up into the chicane here and really made it a little more dicey of a corner. Now with the slower entry to that segment, they're really not quite getting much here, as Cowan about to be passed by, or trying to be passed here by Savage, who can't find a way past, has speed, but no opening.
No, it's a very different. That little S at the beginning is really making the difference here. Savage is having a look again, but she can't quite get close enough. So field is spread out a lot more than we're used to seeing in this series, unfortunately. But still got some racing going on here. Savage looking back and forth, left and right. It looks like Cowan has slight damage to that rear wing as well, but he's doing well holding on to that car, holding on to 13th position. And right in front of him, actually, we got Mercer and Maltby. They're a bit closer to each other. We're side by side, but now they're not anymore. Maltby holding on to that 11th position, though. Mercer trying to get a run, but he's not going to be able to do it. He's going to have a look, and he's going to have a huge dive in there, actually. It's really wide entry, and it tightens up very quickly, and he's actually going to get that pass done. So Mercer up into P11.
Nice work there by him, as Mercer trying to get his way forwards here. Just up ahead of them, we had that trio running together, but they've separated out a little bit now. Looking here at Miles. Patterson's caught that group now, so Miles and Tom Ward caught now by Ewan Patterson, who's going to be trying to work his way past these guys. Miles really had a fantastic qualifying, though. He was only about a 10th slower than your leader, Hughes, who put a stonker of a lap in here, Linus. And it's really showed in his dominant performance so far in the race. He's really just... no one's had a torch to him.
No, he just keeps on opening that gap up, and he's coming across the line again now. Going to open that gap up by a couple more tenths here, and then from second, Paul Grillo down to third. Tom Ward is, well, 2.5 seconds, so they've not got anything there. And here comes Miles up the inside again, and he's going to get that third position back from Tom Ward. He is. Pattinson is there as well, but he can't quite get close enough. And remember, Pattinson last week had that underdog win out of nowhere after the carnage on the last lap, so he knows what he can do. He'll definitely want to try and get this third position, but Adam Miles, new to the series, has it for now. Tom Ward, the veteran, is going to try and get that back, though, so going to have to keep an eye on this, as we still got 13 laps to go.
Yeah, we certainly do here, as 13 to go. There's a long way, of course, with 22 on the books. Lap 10 we're on right now. Hughes last time by a 1:11. Wow, 1:11.8. Faster than his qualifying time, and he's not really got a draft effect here. So that is a stonker of a lap here as fuel's burning off. I'm absolutely flabbergasted by that.
Paul Grillo set an 11.7 though, so he's actually closing in again, so we might get a race for the win here come the end if he can keep that pace up. So Hughes goes to 11.7 as well, and Grillo goes even quicker on an 11.7.01. So these guys are doing everything they can, putting every single... well, using every single inch of the track to go as fast as he can, but Grillo's slightly gaining, actually, so come the end of this race, I think we might have a race for the win. And these guys behind will have to watch out, because Cat is getting closer and closer as well. He gained about half a second on that last lap to Pattinson in 5th, so could have a 4-car race for 3rd as well in a few laps if we're lucky here.
I think we'll absolutely expect that in a few laps, as these guys really putting on a good show here. Gotta say though, it's definitely proven to be a typical New Hampshire race in terms of just major separation we're seeing between these drivers. It's a tough track to race around, usually very limited opportunities to pass, but Perhaps that new introduction to the start of the lap really having a dramatic impact on the lap, the turn 3, turn 4 passes, Linus. People just not able to make that dive like they used to.
Now, you used to be able to have a massive run with the draft, and now it's just the exit of that little S or whatever you want to call it at the beginning that's going to decide whether you can have a run or not. So it's basically an overtaking opportunity that's been taken out, but they're still doing a good job at it. Grillo lost a bit of time to Lewis on that lap, but he's still 1.1 second behind the guys behind though. Miles, Ward, Pattinson all over each other still. Miles holding on to that third position. Ward not able to get any closer, so Miles doing a really good job here.
Yeah, really is. Fantastic job, in fact, as he works with forward. And I'm really excited to see what he'll do in the future in other tracks in this, because this is a guy we've not really seen before. What I'm excited to see on the racetrack and see what he does with it, as he is holding his own with Tom Ward, which is no small feat. Tom Ward, a very fast driver. Same goes for Ewan Patterson. Both of them, some of the top dogs in this series, and this newcomer is just hanging with it. You know, he's running ahead of them. He's doing a good job. He qualified second. He's got pace. And they've not really gotten close enough to challenge yet, so we've not really seen the racecraft really as much yet from Miles, but he's doing a phenomenal job in terms of running around a podium spot.
Yes, and well, seems like he's liking this configuration quite a lot. He's going very hard into the corners compared to Tom Ward and getting a bit sideways, but it's paying off, so no risk of having bad tire wear in these cars in these short races, so he doesn't really have to worry about that. And they're actually opening up that gap back to Anthony Cat again now, these three, so not having to worry about that either when they're not racing. But it's a good job from him, doing well, and Ward obviously has to look out for Pattinson behind him as well, so that could be what's holding Ward back a bit. He can't really make those massive dives, because if he drifts out wide on the exit, Pattinson is going to be right there, and Ward will be in 5th instead of 3rd, so I think he might be playing it a bit conservative, and maybe he's saving something for later in the race.
It's quite likely that's the case here, as they're coming now. At the end of this lap, it will be lap 14 here. We'll be on 9 to go. The final lap's really petering away, and the gap really not seen much change. 0.8 of a second between Hughes and Grillo here. These two absolutely stonking away with this. They themselves have pulled about 3.5 seconds lead us on this next group here. Miles, Ward and Patterson. But we might see a move here by Tom Ward. He's got a good draft. Will he be able to tuck it in the inside for turn 1? Not a great passing opportunity into 1. Really no room to go for a pass with how fast the corner is. There's no real chance to go up the inside. So you just lose speed here. And this snaking S really kind of just draws the cars out. Forces you to fight the track rather than the other cars. Meaning they've got no momentum here leading into the hairpin.
You really need to nail that line through the S's if you're going to have a good run down there, and Ward just doesn't seem to be able to do it, or it's just Adam Miles that's too good at it. So still going to have those three in the same order. Nothing really happening. Pattinson getting a little bit closer now to Ward, actually. Maybe he'll be able to make a dive on him, but I don't think he wants to do that, because they'll just let Adam Miles get that little bit of a gap that he needs. And meanwhile, back at the front, Paul Grillo has finally caught up to Lewis, so we could see a pass here for the lead in a couple of laps. He gained 3/10 on that last lap, and we'll see this time by if he's gained even more. But now that he's getting closer, he's getting a bit less air on that wing, and that's definitely not going to help him through the turns. But he's still gained almost a 10th on that lap, so he's ticking away, getting closer and closer. So he's definitely going to be the Lewis cannot just cruise to this victory like I thought he would be able to, because Grillo is right on top of him.
Really is, of course. Paul Grillo within half a second here, or was at the line of Lear Hughes. But still not really had an opportunity to really make a pass out of this, Linus. He's running well, but he's not been in an attack position yet. I think that's the big thing for him, is he has to find the right opportunity. And is he going to wait, or is he simply not able to get close enough?
Well, we'll see. We got some lap traffic coming up as well. That'll be a few laps away, I think, but if he can keep this pace up, he's going to be there, and I don't think he's going to be waiting. If he gets a chance to pass, he's going to take it and try to drive away from Lewis, because he knows Lewis is great at defending, and if Lewis is holding back slightly, then he might only get one chance at it. But He's getting closer and closer. See if he can get a run down into turn number 1 this time. It looks like he's a little bit too far behind, but that gap is going to come down another tenth, I believe. Yeah, 8/100ths of a second, so not much, but still a little bit. So as he runs a little bit wider than Hughes as well. I don't know if that's the difference, but he gets really close into the second turn here through the S's, and then Hughes is able to open it back up, coming onto the back straightaway.
Really is. Hughes just having much more control over the throttle on that car coming out the corner, really giving him that leg up to not be contested. But the lap traffic could be a factor in these closing laps for them. Could see Paul Grillo open the opportunity to find a way past here and get himself into a race-winning position, but just for now, it's not looking like under his own power that will be a thing he could achieve. Adam Miles now being threatened by Tom Ward here, Linus. Ward is just consistent, we know that much, and if Miles makes a single mistake, Ward will pounce.
He will. He's right there all the time. He's just waiting for a mistake, and Pattinson is right there as well, but he's not even tried to make a move on Tom Ward, so it looks like they're all waiting for something to happen, or waiting for later in the race, maybe. I'm not really sure here. Ward is close enough to try and make a move though, but he's not really doing it. He could make a dive here into turn 1. He's having a slight bit of a look, but he's moving back in behind him, and he's a bit early on the brake, so nothing going to happen here. Pattinson moving up close as well. Miles getting a bit of a wiggle there, but still holds on to that car. And then he drives away from him in the middle of that DS's, and Pattinson closes on Ward as well, so Ward seems to be struggling a bit through the S's, and that might be what's hurting him at the moment.
Yeah, certainly might be, and looking like he's a little bit tail happy there coming out of the hairpin. Lap traffic will be just ahead of them. But Ward closing in. We'll have to see whether he can do anything with that in the coming laps. Seems as though Grillo actually dropped back a little bit. He was closer at the line, Linus, but now he seems to be back within that kind of 8/10 window of Claire Hughes, who's just doing better on his initial half the lap.
Yeah, I think he lost a bit of time with that lap car as well, coming around that bit of a hairpin, but he's holding on to it. He dropped back, obviously. That might be what the use needed. We'll see this time around how much he's pulled away, how much he lost from that little incident with the lap car, but obviously still got about 5 laps to go here, so it's not over until the checkered flag flies. Definitely not. And here comes Pattinson, now got a run on Tom Ward, but he's just going to back him behind him. It looked like he was going to make a dive, but he's just going to sit him behind him. He seems happy with 5th place.
Well, he is for now, of course. It's something he'll likely want to change. He knows he's not really got much opportunity for much at this point, but I think he's filling that kind of, should we call it the Clark Williams position here, of waiting to see what happens. A very kind of careful racing driver's attitude. Especially with Tom Ward ahead of him, he's got a good chance that Wrecking Ball will clear him some spots, but he has to give it room to work. But I think that's going to be a bit of a tall order with how tricky passing has really proved.
Yeah, it's basically a mistake or a great exit out of a turn that's going to be needed, unless you want to make a kamikaze maneuver, and that's probably what Pattinson is hoping for in front of him. At the moment, it's not looking very likely though, because Ward has not even tried to make a pass on Miles within the last, 10 or so laps. So, but here he gets really close now, coming into the S's towards the end of the lap. Maybe he's setting it up here. He's very, very close, almost touching the grass, and this is going to be it. Here he comes, Tom Ward. If he doesn't make a move now, he's never going to do it. He gets right up underneath the rear wing of Miles. He moves to the inside. They're going to be neck and neck in. Oh, he's going to make a really early turn in as well, and he's going to get that position easily. Pattinson is there as well, but Miles has got a bit more speed on the outside. So Tom Ward up into 3rd place, and it's game on now. 4 laps to go.
Certainly, as it looked like Pattinson was going to try and make a move on Miles as well. They're coming out of the initial corners, that S section. But not here yet. Miles looked at Tom Ward but couldn't quite complete there. Did not have the angle to really get his car in. Up ahead of them, no real change there. Grillo and Hughes still about the same distance apart. The real fight here is 3rd, 4th, 5th. Right now, Tom Ward looks like he's going to be the man that takes that final step at the podium, but there's still time to go. Lap 19 here, going to be complete before we can even blink, as Miles back there in 4th, Patterson in 5th. Behind them is Anthony Catt running solo, slowly catching up to that group, so if they fight in the next couple of laps, there's a real chance he will join them. Mick Watson a couple of seconds back from him, as are Lee Anderson. And again behind them, Matt Cox in 9th. Dave Kirkman in 10th place is running there with Sarah Savage, but those two running way behind the current action up here. Lap 20 has begun. Clay Hughes, Paul Grillo, 0.4 of a second separating them. Really not within a room to make an attack. In fact, there really isn't an attack position other than that run into the first corner. And Grillo's never been close enough, Linus, I don't think, to really make that attacking move.
He got really close a while ago, but then the lap car got in the way. But he's closing back in. He got a 10th on that last lap, and Pattinson, oh, right on the back of Miles there as well. But yeah, Grillo, he's getting closer and closer. So if he can get within that 1 or 2 tenths coming to the white flag, we might see something on the last lap. But these guys back here, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they're all over each other. Pattinson almost ran in the back of Adam Miles there in the hairpin. Now Miles has a bit of a run on Wood, but this is not a place where you want to try and make a pass. So he's going to have to settle in behind him. He's actually going to lift early. That's going to give Pattinson a bit of a run as well. Very tight line there from Miles, though. Going to try and get that same run on Wood that Wood got on him a few laps ago onto the straightaway. He's going to be very, very close. Pattinson is right there as well. Here he comes now. Adam Miles going to be 2 laps to go. Is he going to do to Wood what he did a couple of laps ago? Wood is going to go a bit more defensive. He's going to go really defensive. Going to force Miles to the outside. Can he make it around? We will see who's going to be later on. The brakes. They're going to be equal, but Wood with the inside is definitely going to have the upper hand, and Miles trying to get the undercut somehow, but he can't find an opening. So Tom Wood figuring out if you go defensive there, you got it made for you. But here he comes again. He's got to run down into the hairpin. Wood going defensive again. Miles to the outside. Pattinson going to dive to the inside, and Pattinson's actually going to move up to 4th place from that. What a move. But Miles still got to run on the outside. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think it's still going to go the way of Miles here, as he knows he has the inside for the big left-hander here. This bowl corner that climbs uphill, but Pattinson right up behind him. You're not going to have enough room to actually go underneath him there. See, the gap we've seen there between Miles and Ward, or Ward and Miles, have been much, much closer, especially when it's talking about passing territory, than Grillo Hughes, whose gap kind of maintains, Linus. It's almost as though Grillo's holding off.
Grillo's right on him, though.
Yeah, he's up much closer this time. He's actually within passing distance now. This is a good distance to be back. And it could be that he's now waited for this opportunity, but he's not going to close it in time. First defensive move here by Clay Hughes there, as Grillo right up behind him, looks to the outside. Oh, scuffs the tyre there under braking. Bit of a lockup. He's going to have to really force it now. They're on to the final lap. He's probably not going to get an opportunity. Poor Grillo probably angry with himself there for stuffing that entry to the corner. Wants to go wider and just try and throw it in, but didn't get the chance to. He's going to have to try and Hail Mary here somewhere and make this work, as he does everything to try and get his car as fast as possible. The race is definitely on here. Half a lap to go for these guys, and Paul Grillo is looking for any opportunity here to pass Clay Hughes. It's going to be very, very, very hard here, as just behind him, Ward is a bit safer in 3rd, although Miles is definitely looking for an opportunity to get past Patterson here. And I told you if they thought Cat would join them, he's right up behind that group as we go back to Grillo and Hughes. And Grillo right on the gearbox of Clay Hughes here. But I don't think it's going to be enough in timeliness. Just up behind him now. Last corners. And it's a big, big effort there by Paul Grillo. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Out of the final corner along the pit wall, they'll come. And Clay Hughes will take it at New Hampshire. Behind them, Tom Ward looking safe for 3rd place. In fact, he is. And it's going to be Patterson, Miles, Cat for your top 6 there as they come across the line. Mick Watson brings it home in 7th with Lee Anderson there in 8th place. Thought we had an opportunity for something to happen there, Linus. I was quite surprised that it quite didn't, but altogether, tough foot race. He really had to put the pedal down.
He caught up to him and he made a move in the last lap, but just going up that inside line into turn 1 seemed to be the way to go if you want to defend your position. And looking through the field here, there's not really any more battles going on. It's been a very spread out race here. So actually we got Stevenson, Cropwood and Jerome Etienne racing for 22nd here, coming to the last couple of corners, but don't think anything's going to happen there. But yeah, inside into turn 1 seemed to be the way to go actually.
I really think that was the only passing opportunity we really had there, other than mistakes.
Yeah, it was a bit weird with this layout, but it's what it is. Had a good race still, and the race for 3rd was on as well. Pattinson managed to get Miles there on the last lap into the hairpin, I believe that one, and Cat caught right up to them. So if we would have had another couple of laps, I'm not too sure that Anthony Cat wouldn't have gotten up all the way up to 3rd, because he was on a mission there. he was charging right up to them. But overall, a pretty spread out, but still a good race. So it's not too sure they will use this layout next time we get back here though.
Certainly was, and here's your post-race results. Claire Hughes there in first place. Close second for Paul Grillo. Tom Ward, final step of the podium in third. Behind them it's Patterson and Miles bringing up your top 5 with Anthony Catt, Mick Watson, Lee Anderson, Matt Cox and Dave Kirkman there. Behind them, Sarah Savage, Daniel Tufts, Simon Maltby, Mark Mercer, Neil Middleton, Peter Cowan, Michael Taylor. Paul Smith made it all the way up from 28th to 18th there with Tim Adcock and Mod Kijoko in 20th. Final positions there, Dave Dowson, Neil Stevenson, Craig Crawford, Jerome Etienne, Darren Morris, Tony Stack, James Child, Chris Morris, Clark Williams and Alan Patterson in 30th. Well, an interesting race here at New Hampshire, Linus. I'm not sure I like this particular layout for the guys. I think it does reduce the speed and thus the passing opportunities are a little bit harder to achieve for these guys. Requiring more of a long run setup for a pass rather than the opportunity we had in the last layout. But New Hampshire being one of those tricky tracks, I think the drivers will be glad to see it behind them and move on to some more conventional racetracks, shall we say.
Hey, yeah, I think it's a very tricky racetrack this, and it's usually some different names up at the front. Not this time either, though, but still a very good race. And Lee Hughes obviously doing what he had to do. It's good to see Paul Grillo putting up a fight though, and Pattinson keeping up that good pace he had last week, finishing 4th. Adam Miles new to the series in 5th. That's good to see as well. So it's going to be a good battle for the championship of the season, and hopefully these guys will keep performing well, and we can have some good races.
Certainly will. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this one here tonight at New Hampshire, folks. Thank you very much for joining us here. We've had myself, Rachel Whitefoot, Linus Brostrom, and Tyler Maxson making his RaceSpotTV production debut. So hats off to Tyler for this one. We'll catch you same time next week. Thanks for watching.